Salud.
Quarterback has the ball, fades back, and he's going for it. It's a touchdown. He's got it. He's going down the line, down the 50, the 40, the 30. The snap is down. The kick is up, and it's good.
You're listening to The Extra Point, hosted by Phil Ruskin. Welcome.
Welcome in. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of The Extra Point. Thanks for hanging out with us. Welcome in. What's going on? Welcome to another. I got some feedback on my mic.
Look at that, man. Hey,
wow, the production value just went from like moderately bad to like tanking right there on the.
Oh yeah, I'm like you're going for the 101 there for sure, man. You're just
I don't think that's the 101.
You're trying to get super chats in the first 5 minutes or low budget.
I think that's like you get kicked out of the league sort of situation here, but we're gonna try that again. Welcome to the show. Excited to have everybody here tonight. We've got a fantastic show because we are I screwed up the title as well, by the way, but we are drafting the rookie class from a Dynasty format, right? So we are redrafting. And I think that's why people are like, wait, is this a redraft? And we're advertising the show and marketing it. They're like, is it a redraft or is it a Dynasty show? Like, it's a Dynasty show, but redraft shouldn't be in the title. So no one's perfect, Kendall. We just do the best we can, and we like to talk football. And as long as people listen, it's really all we're about. So can we just talk about something before we get into this draft? Did Trevor Lawrence really fall down and not one human being touched him? And then he got up and then ran all the way into the end zone, and I don't think he actually got touched until the ball had already crossed the goal line. Did I watch the same game you watched? What the actual, you know what?
Yeah, look, you know, my take on that game was, you know, if you're a frustrated Dynasty owner of basically every Jacksonville pass catcher, you watch that play from a lifeless, soulless corpse, and anything left in me definitely left watching that entire play out and no wide receiver touching the ball. It hurt me deeply, but good for Trevor, I guess. I mean, as someone who is attached to that offense, sadly, I needed someone to fall in the end zone. So that was nuts. That game was insane. I thought about it like the rest of the night. I had to wake up the next morning, and I think I was looking at like first things first or whatever, and like the Chiefs, what happened?
I don't know if the Chiefs are good. Because we knew their offense was struggling. We knew that it wasn't going to be an easy start once Worthy went out in game one because you didn't have Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce hasn't been Travis Kelce for 2 or 3 years now. And the running game is completely evaporated. When Patrick Mahomes, he's a mobile quarterback. He is not a running quarterback. And there is a difference, right? Justin Herbert had a 41-yard scramble on Sunday. Justin Herbert's a mobile quarterback, not a running quarterback. When Patrick Mahomes is your leading rusher, we got other things to do tonight, but I left that game asking myself, number one, are the Chiefs bad? Number two, are the Jaguars the worst 4-1 team in football? Because 2 weeks ago I was getting shit for the Niners being the best, worst best team, right? The worst undefeated team, right? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, they lost at home to the Jaguars, and then turn around on Thursday Night Football as the 19ers because they don't have any players, and they beat the Rams. And then I'm like, holy shit, we're 4-1, we're top of the league. And I still don't think we're very good. So we can talk about real football a little bit. But we've got 11. If you're listening and you want to jump in, go DM us real quick, or Kendall can shoot the link, actually, if you're listening. Jump in the chat. Yeah, shoot the link. We've got the link to the live stream up if you want to follow along the show and listen along. But if you want to be our lucky number 12 and jump in and draft with us, we've got 11 sharp drafters. We need a 12th. But we're going to do a single quarterback Dynasty format, 12-team draft. And most drafts are between 3 and 4 rounds. I'm in a league that's a 5-round draft. I think that is probably a round too much. But we're going to do a 4-round draft tonight. It is as basic as we could make it to try to give us a relatively even playing field without having tight end premium. So no tight end premium tonight, no super flex tonight. So single quarterback, 6-point passing format. And we're going to go ahead and dive in right here in just a second. And it looks like, there we go. The Premier, thank you, my friend. We appreciate you. Thanks for being a subscriber, but also thanks for jumping in on this draft. Kendall, you have the 102. It'll be 30 seconds tonight. And what we're going to do is we're going to get through the draft, and then Kendall and I are going to break it all down. We also have our own rankings that we have done. So we'll compare a little bit of the draft board to our own rankings. And then Kendall and I, to be fair, our rankings are fairly similar. There's a couple areas where we have some pretty big gaps between players. So we'll try to dive in on that for y'all and give you guys as much content as we possibly can over the next hour. So without further ado, I think Shaw Dog is on the clock.
Shaw Dog.
Ready.
Buddy, it's from your leagues, right? It's from your league.
Yes, yeah. I don't see a green light on him, but life will go on. So here we go. Ran in 3, 2, 1.
We make it happen. Shaw Dog,
make it happen.
So he was the first person in this mock to ask when it starts. So naturally
he's not here. Yeah, of course. But I think while we're waiting for him, my expectation is that if he doesn't draft, it's going to go on the computer. But Kendall, I think you and I unanimously agree. Who is the 101 right now if we were re-ranking? Let's do that. Let's call it re-ranking. If we were re-ranking these rookies, who's the 101 right now?
Egbuka.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Egbuka.
Yeah, and not that Mr. Gronkowski can't pronounce it, but, he can't pronounce it. So we'll go ahead and make Mr. Egbuka the 101 as he rightfully deserves, which puts Kendall on the clock here at the 102. Kendall, I'll take this while you're getting your pick lined up. I don't expect this first round to be drastically different than what it was back in May, but I do think there's probably 2 or 3 players who were mid to late second round guys who did sneak in, at least in my rankings, I think in yours as well, to the back of the first round. And there's a couple of risers, and there's certainly a couple of fallers. And so I want to start to see how this plays out here as Ashton Genty goes at the 102 and then Hampton at the 103. Since Hampton just went, obviously the injury hurts his redraft value, but I'm not concerned with his dynasty stock at all. But how does Hampton look to you, Kendall, early in this season? Because we had some questions coming in. Was he really the second? Was he really the RB2 in this class? I think everyone said it was Genty, but do we still feel like Hampton is the actual RB2 in this class?
So the real question on everyone's mind, if we're being honest with ourselves, was, is Genty just different like Saquon? Right. And I don't even mean like Bijan, like Saquon, in that he just looked different from other NFL players, positionless, just insane. And there's everybody else. Right. This class was kind of set up for Genty to be just like freakishly different. Right. And then was Hampton going to be a separate tier of good? Right. And how did that compare? That was like why you couldn't consider taking Hampton 1, because like we're talking about Genty in this different ecosphere. The idea is I'm talking more about Genty than I am about Hampton here. But when we were asking ourselves about Hampton, right, it was really all about comparing him to other current NFL backs for the most part, about usage in the offense. As soon as Ashton Genty looked kind of human, he does look very, very good, right? But the team was bad. As soon as he was an earthling, then we got to give Hampton sort of a fair shot in our minds, right? I mean, it's the first time we were really looking at him is after we got Genty out of our mind. And, I think early on, obviously the usage was a little bit frustrating, but if you watch the snaps, I think you saw a great athlete, someone who looked good. More notably, the one big takeaway you can look at, if we're looking at all 5 weeks, not just right when we got to see him, is the pass catching. Just he was used quite often as a pass catcher. He caught pretty much everything thrown his way. He looked good doing it. He looked natural doing it. There are times where you utilize a player and it looks like it's more work than it's worth with other NFL level athletes around. It didn't look like that. This looked like a guy that I think can comfortably get 4 to 5 targets every single game for the rest of his career and catch 4+ balls. And that's an area that's difficult for any NFL player to hit. But at running back, it gives you such a floor ceiling combo that I think you saw enough of the what's he going to be to think that if he ever has a decent snap share, what he is a very good NFL running back.
Agreed. So Shaw is not here in this draft at the 201. So I think this is a good chance actually we're gonna kind of pause the draft here for just a second. We're gonna crowdsource this pick. Egbuka going off the board at the 101, followed by Genty, Hampton, Tet McMillan, Kinshaw Judkins, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt at the 106. At the 107, we've got Tyler Warren, Cam Scatterboot, Travion Henderson, and then a quick wide receiver run here with Travis Hunter. Alec Iomenor, interesting pick there from Rasta. We'll talk about that one in a bit. And then Matthew Golden. So, Kendall, I think what we want to do is jump in the chat. And guys that are in the show, I see a vote already for RJ Harvey. But let's go ahead and just kind of crowdsource this a bit. Running backs available, RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson. Obviously at the tight end position, Colston Loveland. But Jaden Higgins, Luther Bird, and Trey Harris. We have yet to see a quarterback come off the board. Got a second vote in here for Harvey. I think Harvey's probably going to be my pick here, Kendall. Do you agree on that as well? I know that seems to be what the chat is expressing as well.
Yes, that would be my pick.
So let's go ahead and put RJ Harvey here and continue on with the draft. So RJ Harvey starts the second round here, and Kendall, you are on the clock. Let's get that away.
Interesting. Actually, I pull my own rankings.
I just said I was just going to say when I was
higher rankings. It's fun to have like the most updated set of rankings in Dynasty existence because these were updated like an hour and a half ago.
Well, I went. I know you're on the clock here, so I'll take this. But when I was on the clock here at the 107, I went and I said, "Who am I picking?" And I went and consulted my own rankings, and sure enough, Tyler Warren right there, and Cam Scatterboot went right after. Those were the two players I was between. What'd you do? Did you just time out?
Did I time out?
You timed out. Who are you taking here?
Oh, I must be like I didn't even see a clock going on.
Yeah, you're lagging
here. No, shoot. I was actually looking up like here. Seriously, who do I have in my rankings? Where am I right at the turn? Like what?
The 202
am I actually
here.
taking?
Your rankings have Harold Fannin Jr.
My rankings have Mason Taylor.
This is why your rankings have Mason Taylor. There you go.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I have to go so far down in the actual draft board. It feels embarrassing or that I'm missing something. But because the draft is set up all super flex, I couldn't sort by position here.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I can't even find him. Yeah. Well, we can go with whatever there. It would have been.
It's Jaden Higgins, but yeah. You got to set the draft by all flex, otherwise it's going to make you take a quarterback, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
so Mason Taylor goes next, so that's fine. Not a huge discrepancy there. But what stands out to you here in the first round? I know what stands out to me, but as the more I look at it, the less that I disagree with it. Anything stand out to you in the first round here?
The 106 stands out. Alec at the 111 is probably the biggest.
That's the one that stands out to me.
For me. Probably Alec, which could just be just an interesting super spice take, and I think Bill. Yeah, those two.
Yeah, I think it's look, it was definitely Bill's best game. I think it was an interesting game, right? Because you look at the Chargers and you think, all right, they're at home, coming off the bad loss to the Giants, and then all of a sudden it's like, dang, 10-0. They're gonna be flipping this thing around and kind of roll. And then they just didn't do anything with it, right? So Ladd has the touchdown, then he has the great return that ends up, of course, getting called back. But yeah, it was sort of a weird game. But as I think about, we're talking about Bill here. He looked good, and he hasn't looked good since week 1. And I know he kind of was on the injury report, off the injury report, and so I think now what we're doing is finally getting a chance to see him take a little bit more command of the role. Obviously, he scores, a touchdown in week 1, and then really doesn't have a lot of opportunities after that. Obviously, the injury to Eckler, everyone was, billed to the moon, and then it was, I think, if my memory's right, Kendall, it was 4 carries or something like the next week, and people were just completely furious.
It was a small carry amount.
Here, so
even if the snaps were like 17 or 18, even just the amount of carries, the utilization, even when they're on the field, was low.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm going to probably go ahead and set Ollie Gordon here at the 301 because it looks like Shaw's not going to be here again. Are we Probably okay with
Yeah.
that pick here. I don't really see another player that really screams has to be drafted in this position. So,
I'd say just go with your rankings on this one. This is why it would take too much time to go into
Yeah.
a rankings debate here, because this is actually one where I think we have them in different tiers. I think we have basically I have a
you're
lot
on
of
the
the
clock,
wide
by the way.
receivers here. Yeah, we got like 10 seconds left. So I
Yeah.
usually like the wide receivers here over everyone else. In this case, though, I still have a couple of running backs that I would go with.
Well, that's why I
It's
put Ollie Gordon there, was
either
to give you a chance at all those wide receivers. So I
it's
didn't
either
want to take one of those guys out of your
Giddens Blue
pool.
or Brashard Smith. Is Brashard Smith
Rashard
gone?
Smith. No.
It's Brashard Smith for me if he's still
Agreed.
available.
And Brashard Smith looks good. He's getting some opportunities. He's getting some run out. Pacheco looks better last night. Obviously, Hunt gets the 2 touchdowns, but there was times when you just look and you think, maybe it's Dynasty, right? Like maybe Brashard Smith has a role in this team next year. I don't know. Pacheco's at the end of his rookie contract. Kareem Hunt's old. Your quarterback, who's not a running quarterback, is your number one, ball carrier right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's one of those kind of like,
he feels like
Brashard
Woody Marks,
Smith
but he's
grow
going to
into
be
his
later
role?
than Woody Marks. But the same things
Mhm.
happening with Brashard Smith that you were seeing with Woody Marks. But Mixon's just basically out for the season, whereas Pacheco and Hunt are healthy, and we're looking for another excuse, right? So it's just going to happen later. But it's a similar narrative, right? So
Agreed.
but
agreed.
on the Chiefs, right? So we just saw it with Pacheco. I think like most dynasty running backs, as soon as they hit their tip of their upswing, we're usually looking to sell them because they're a running back, unfortunately. But until then, I was surprised to see that Brashard Smith, like looking at the 3-2 there and seeing him that in my redone rankings, that's as high as he is. That felt like spicy high, but now that I look at it, no, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think when I look at these mid third round guys here, we waited to do this show because we wanted to give it at least 4 or 5 weeks to actually have some data to back up, mostly the risers and the fallers. But as we get into this third round, it's like a lot of these guys, their position, if they were drafted in your dynasty leagues in the third round, that hasn't changed. You know what I mean? They've either risen or they've stayed the same because no one's really fallen off, because a lot of these guys haven't had enough to really say it's not going to happen. Right. So I think like Jalen Noel going off the board here at the 310, we haven't seen anything other than a couple kick returns and a handful of passes. Right. So I think there's guys that we'll talk about here as we wrap up the draft here in a couple minutes that, we have some information, Scattaboo, Bill, some guys that we certainly can discuss, Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
Right. That's someone I think we need to spend some time on tonight, because that is a big question mark. But there's some guys that I don't think are going to get discussed a ton because we don't have enough information yet. So, and that's how Dynasty goes sometimes.
Yeah. I was thinking to myself, we're going to have to kind of like lightning take and give our the main bullet point back and forth, because I think me and you could probably talk for probably about half a day or so. On this board or our rankings. So I'm curious to see how many player takes we get through and how similar or dissimilar we are on the tiers conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like rankings always change, but how far someone will rise or fall in tiers is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, you are on the old board there. 15 seconds.
This to me has to be. I'm trying to go as hard off of my own, like my redone rankings as possible. Yeah. By the way, I could just pick somebody for sure if I just need to. Wow, this probably has to be. I don't think that's right for my rankings. That doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure that's Kyle Williams in my rankings, actually.
I'll tell you something. Oof, there it goes. There was my pick that I was hoping would get back to me here, but CPT Beefalo takes Jalen Milroe, and I have to say in the 4th round, I love that pick. So. Solid pick there. Because look, at this point in the draft, you're looking for less upside and more, can I just get on the field? You know what I mean? Like in the 3rd round, you're looking for upside. In the 2nd round, I'm looking for, can you actually be a flex? In the 1st round, you better be contributing to my team sooner than later, at least in the next year or two. Obviously, it's Dynasty. I don't expect every player in the 1st round to contribute right away. It'd be nice if they do, but we know some guys just take time. Colston Loveland. Not going to contribute this year, but I still think is a fantastic dynasty pick because we expect him long term to be valuable. But in the second round, in the third and fourth rounds, I'm just looking for a guy that I hopefully don't have to cut or I can promote from my taxi squad as we move forward here. So who's on the clock here? I'm on the clock.
It's tough because like there's doing a real draft, and I keep looking over to our show sheet, which has these brand new rankings that like I would normally import. So it's like it's a weird thing of normally I would know exactly what I'm doing going into a draft, and I'm feeling what it would be like to just study a really simple cheat sheet 10 seconds before a live draft and then let it go. And would definitely never do that. Would not recommend that to anybody.
No, and it's different when you do your own rankings and you have 30 seconds to pick, right? I mean, obviously in a real dynasty draft, you've generally got 8 to 12 hours, right? That's usually the clock. It's a slow draft. Everybody's going to potentially trade, but everybody's going to take time to, feel out kind of where they believe based off of the real NFL draft, the players that they're looking at in their dynasty draft positions are actually going to have a good fit. So as we wrap up the draft here, we'll kind of talk through it. So let's go through this, Kendall. For those that are listening on Spotify or on Patreon, I'm going to go through the first 2 rounds and then we'll pause and kind of break it up that way. So Emeka Egbuka at the 101, followed by Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Tet McMillan, Kinshad Judkins, Bill Krosky Merritt, and the second half of the first round, Tyler Warren, Cam Scadaboo, Travion Henderson, Travis Hunter, Alec Iomanner, and Matthew, almost said Marquise. I don't know what my brain was thinking. Matthew Colden at the 112. At the top of the second round, RJ Harvey, Jaden Higgins, Mason Taylor, Luther Burden, Woody Marks, Harold Fannin Jr., and Bashal Tootin, with Jackson Dart coming off the board as the QB1, Colston Loveland, Cam Ward as the QB2, Torrey Horton, and Caleb Johnson. We talked about Alec Iomanner at the 111 kind of standing out to you, Kendall. What stands out to you in the second round? Because there is obviously a name that screams to me.
Okay, standing out in the second round. All of them for different reasons. Okay, number 1, Caleb Johnson for he had to stay in the second round. Just such a polarizing player, such a tough to rank player. I drafted him in a few spots. A lot out of need, but it's just an interesting one at 212. I don't want to go too deep into it. 1 QB, but just I think we were thinking Dart over Ward for sure, but just interesting to see where he went just in general. And I think just tight ends in general, seeing Taylor and Fannin go along with Loveland before Loveland, but going in general in the second round. I thought there's kind of an argument to say that like the tight ends, maybe depending on how you see tight end, no matter how up or down they are, they should be in the third because like the positional players should just seeing them in the third and in the second versus the third is, I think, interesting if we went into that a little bit more. What did you think?
I mean, look, the name that I said screams is Caleb Johnson because, and I'm not going to pull it, but I know off the top of my head that there was at least 2 of my leagues that drafted a little tiny bit later. And he was a back of the first round guy in both of those leagues, right? And most of my leagues, and you know this because you're in a lot of my leagues, I imagine the ones I'm not in with you also do this, but they draft basically the weekend after the NFL draft concludes. So that kind of first weekend of May is generally when dynasty drafts are happening. So Caleb Johnson at that point was still a top of the second round player if he wasn't sneaking into the first. So the fact that he's at the literal last pick of the second round, let's pause. It's only been 5 weeks, and for him, technically, it's only been 4 because they had the bye last week. But it hasn't been good. And my issue is this. Historically, and if you follow the NFL, you know this about Mike Tomlin. Historically, he's been a one-back guy. It was Le'Veon for a lot of years. Then it was Najee. Then they brought Jaylen Warren in, and then Jaylen Warren sort of, to be fair, outplayed Najee in large stretches, and I think ultimately is why they didn't pick up that 5th-year option for Najee and allowed him to go to the Chargers. But then they draft Caleb Johnson, and it's still, and then they reward Warren with the contract extension. Now, I get it's Arthur Smith, and it's chaos because Arthur Smith screams chaos, but here's what I'm looking for, because I don't want people that have Caleb Johnson on their rosters to just dump him, right? And it's too early to trade out of a guy right now. If you want to trade a third or fourth round player for, someone else that you think might have more upside, fine. We're not going to get into the nuances of trades tonight, but I'm looking for a couple things with Caleb Johnson over the next, I'll call it 5 games, because it's really a 15-game fantasy season. I don't expect anything this week against Cleveland. It's going to be atrocious. Best defense that I've seen this NFL season. Then it's Cincinnati. But then it's Green Bay and Indianapolis and the Chargers before Cincinnati again. So I just don't think you're going to see a lot of upside over these next 5-6 games. And then depending where the Steelers are, and right now they are the AFC North first place team. If they're a playoff team, and they probably will be regardless of what happens over the next couple of games, because that's just how the Steelers are, I just think Caleb Johnson right now is a stash. I don't see the upside. I don't think we're going to see enough to really predict a year to break out outside of injury to Jaylen Warren. He's not getting the run. He's had issues in the special teams, which is probably keeping him off the field. So I don't want people to panic, but I think we're going to need to just be patient. And I think that's the advice I would give if you are a Caleb Johnson owner, is you're still probably over the next month or so, maybe the next 6 weeks, not going to see enough to make that determination. I think you just have to stay the course. And as we all know, things change in the NFL in the offseason real quick. So what we're looking for is, are the Steelers a trade to Breece Hall? Breece Hall is probably going to go on the block in the real NFL. What are the Jets? 0-5? They have he has no reason. They've clearly said we don't. I mean, Braylon Allen going down does change things. It is possible now that he stays, but I think you and I both agree, if Braylon Allen hadn't gotten hurt, that these next couple of weeks and everything we've seen so far, even though Breece has been fine, his ceiling is lower. So
they like Isaiah Davis too. So
they like Isaiah Davis. So it's like I'm having a hard time right now predicting where Breece could go. I don't think it's Pittsburgh. That's my point. So I'm just saying, like, do they bring in someone else? Right? Is this offseason, pay attention to that. Because if they bring someone in this offseason, then maybe you've burned a pick with Caleb Johnson. If they don't, then I think you're okay and you need to see some stuff. But I think it's going to take you a year. So that was the one that screamed to me. The second one that was kind of outstanding, and I'm going to flip this to you, Kendall, because this is a riser. This is a big riser, is Woody Marks going at the 205. So, let's just take a quick peek. We can pause for a second. I want to check my rankings. I know yours are right next to mine. I have Woody Marks at the 207. So 19th overall on my board. You have him at the 205. So 17th overall on your board. I think that means we probably have him in the same tier. But what is Woody Marks' role moving forward? Nick Chubb's older. Joe Mixon will come back, but he's also older and obviously not without his injuries. So give me some thoughts really quickly on Woody Marks based off the first 4 or 5 weeks of what you've seen from him.
I see Woody Marks as I'm not calling him an RB1, but I'm saying he's the future RB1 of his team. And that future is the near future. It's almost now. It's seeable, predictable within the current season. Right. And I don't think Woody Marks is like some amazing football player, but I do think he's NFL good. Like, I think a lot of the running backs in this class are. I think a lot of them are NFL good. How, into what scheme and what fit, right? And Phil, you and I talked about this a lot. One of my strategies going into this particular rookie class was I just want to find a lot of excuses to click the running back button at a high clip. I want to trade for a lot of extra thirds and fourths, because I think with volume is going to come taking players out of a scarcity, and it's actually going to leave a little bit of a volume of running backs towards the late third and fourth, because there'll be a common commodity at that point. And I think it's going to be a lot of players that are pretty good, but their landing spots are going to be, who knows, who gets injured, who doesn't, who's good, who's not, in terms of the current NFL guys. So I wanted to hit the running back button a lot. Woody Marks was a guy I liked. Hey, known for catching passes, could do something. And so where do I see his role? I think he's going to be on a team that, 500-ish. Maybe they win slightly more games, but I think they're going to need a passing running back, and I think they're going to need an RB1. And I think they drafted him hoping he could do that, but probably assuming they had to find a way to hobble through an RB1 and see what they get in him. I think they're the definition of exactly what fantasy owners are. Like, pleasantly surprised. Hey, hey, you could kind of do, you know what I mean? The same way the team feels about him is the same way we feel about him. And it's great. And you know what you really like is you want a running back that's NFL good, not NFL great, but on a team that just needs something. Because the team is ready, not just to give him all the work, but they're happy to give him the job. Nick Chubb doesn't have any problem giving him more than 50% of the snaps. You know what I mean? There's just nothing in his way. And remember when we were calling David Montgomery, David Mopportunity for a while? That was a thing. And sometimes we just want opportunity. Woody Marks is going to have it all. And that's why I have him ranked so highly, is this opportunity with just enough talent.
I will say this as the kind of counter take, because I do agree with what you've said here. I want to just say this because I don't want people to think that they have, and this is why I liked what you said. You said, I'm going to call him an RB1 now. And I want people to remember that because it's really important. Dameon Pierce was the hot commodity on this same team 2 years ago, right? Everybody's out of town. Everyone's injured. Everybody, all of a sudden, it's Dameon Pierce to the moon. And if you had Dameon Pierce, you thought, my God, I've got a locked and loaded RB1 on a decent offense going forward, and I'm going to be able to plug and play this guy. I want to see Woody Marks over this next 6 to 7 weeks. Sorry to use a dad joke and a pun, but make his mark, right? Like, I want to see him do that because here's what I fear. I fear Breece Hall going to Houston. I fear Alvin Kamara going to Houston. I fear the Texans go and draft, probably not a first rounder, but they use a day 2 pick on a second or third round running back to bring in competition because the ceiling for Marks, in my opinion, is not he's not a top 12 back. Right. So I think that's where you need to be a little bit careful. And I think, Kendall, you and I'm going to predict this through my crystal ball. I would imagine in the next month or so, we have a discussion about Houston and trading Woody Marks high on one of our trade segments of a show. I see Classic Mike Chiefs more than Houston. Exactly. The Chiefs are clearly in the running back market. So, but my point being is this, just because Woody Marks is emerging right now does not mean you've got someone that's locked and loaded. And just take that with a grain of salt, because it's never a bad thing to trade high on a player, even if he's a rookie, and capitalize. Because you thought the same thing about Pacheco, right? You remember my trade from earlier this offseason. I put Pacheco, Chris Olave, and Tyreek Hill for Jaden Higgins, a first-round pick, and Trey Benson. I flipped Trey Benson and that first-round pick for your and my guy, Rome Odunze. So thank you, Chris Olave and Pacheco and Tyreek Hill, for getting me Rome Odunze, who I drafted and traded away as part of a different trade to get Josh Allen. And Rome had to come home. But my point is this.
We're going to do a trade week one of these days in Dynasty. For sure. We just talk through a bunch of trades.
For sure. I want to just move to the third and fourth rounds here because there's a couple guys that I think are worth talking about. So for those that can't see the board that are listening and following along on Spotify and Patreon, Ollie Gordon at the 301, Brashard Smith at the 302, Isaac Tesla at the 303, Isaac Bond, Dylan Gabriel, DJ Giddens, Deontay Thornton, Elijah Arroyo, Jaden Blue, Jalen Noel, Pat Bryant, and Terrace Ferguson at the 312. Kendall, there's a player here in this round, and I don't disagree that he's a third round player based off what we've seen here. But is there someone to you that has a higher ceiling? That's my question. Or maybe belongs in a different tier here in this third round, because there is someone to me that I want to talk about here in a minute, but I want to see if it's the same name.
Okay, different tier. Okay, right off the bat, single quarterback, so I can't give any consideration to Gabriel. No offense. I bury quarterbacks in one quarterback, to be honest with you. I bury them pretty good and deep there. Handcuff. I think for me, I'm looking right at the early half here, and I'm seeing that my pick that honestly surprised me, Brashard Smith, I think belongs He's not too far away. I'm predicting Brashard Smith to follow the Woody Marks path, and he's kind of almost playing the Bashal Tutin role right now. So he's a guy that jumps out to me right away. Second guy that jumps out to me, I guess a little bit, is probably Jaden Blue at the 3-9. For different reasons, but I'm always picking running backs in interesting spots. I want to find a non-running back interesting spot. I'll say Terrence Ferguson. I think at the 312 is getting boned a little bit. I think he deserves to be a little bit higher, but that's what's coming out to me right now. No Isaac Tesla take. I haven't seen enough.
Isaac Tesla's hard. Well, Isaac Tesla, he caught the touchdown this week. It's just hard with him because he's just buried in his own team. You know what I mean? Like, they've just paid Jamison Williams. They've obviously paid Amon-Ra. They're going to pay Gibbs. I think, if my memory,
we just can't talk about him because he's like the fourth option.
Well, that's what I mean.
On I think best next 5 years of the league. Like, it's impossible for Detroit not to be great, and he's always going to be fourth fiddle at best, right? So
that's
like we're not talking about him, right? Just because there's no ceiling, and we play Dynasty to win titles, not dream about him.
I want to. So the name I want to talk about is actually someone you didn't say, which was ironic, and is also higher in your rankings than mine. It's DJ Giddens.
Okay, so, I looked at Giddens a lot. I went with my blue take because I didn't want to get into a Giddens take because it leads into a what's the future of the Indianapolis Colts. I thought that was bad for the showtime, but yeah, dude, let's get it. What do you think about Giddens?
Let's Giddens. Two dad jokes in a row here. Here's what I think about Giddens. I think there's two things that stand out to me. Number one, I think if he has continuous usage as the change of pace back for JT, and that is what we are seeing, I think he is going to solidify himself as one of the must-own handcuffs in the NFL.
He's like almost better Algier. Almost. Like it's
early, but I would rather have Algier, but I think he has that archetype. I think that's what I'm getting at, is I think he has the ability, based off what we've seen. I'm not going to put things out in the universe, but in the future, he could handle a larger role if that was the case. And I think he's a player right now who has one of the best opportunities to solidify, like I said, a true handcuff role. Injuries happen. JT's missed time. He's having a great, he's been the overall RB1. He is the overall RB1 right now. I don't have anything negative to say about JT. No one does. But Giddens has looked competent, more than competent. He's getting the rushing. He's getting on the field. I'll be honest, I've only watched 3 or 4 Colts games because they're out of market. So if I don't get a chance to, get out to the bar on the weekend to, where they've got all the games, and I just don't get to see every Colts game. But I don't believe I've seen a lot of players come off the field. Come onto the field when JT has come off. I think it's been Giddens almost every time, right? I'm sure there's some guys that have a small snap percentage, but my point is that at the 306 in the middle of the third round here, I like your Brashard Smith idea as a player that also stands out to me, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I think that you could make the case, and people are going to be mad at me for saying this, you can make the case that DJ Giddens could have more value than Caleb Johnson next year, who was drafted ahead of him. I don't think he'll have more value than Tutin, but he could have more value than Marks. And the reason I say that is exactly the way you said it. Marks' value is right now, but is his ceiling high enough to keep him in the RB1, RB2 role for his own team? I don't know the answer to that question. It's too early. We'll find out. So Giddens is really interesting to me.
The team,
100%. 100%.
You can't tell with running back.
What I think is interesting is this. I haven't looked at their draft picks, but if Houston doesn't go hard in free agency and in the draft for their offensive line, I understand that CJ Stroud was the QB1 this last week, but holy shit, it's been bad. So something to keep an eye on. Mike in the chat, is Giddens worth a second, Kendall? He has that offer on. So Mike has an offer right now. He has JT. So Giddens would obviously be the handcuff. He's asking, is he worth a 26 second? Would you give a 26 second, or would you rather have Giddens?
I would rather have the 26 second. Yeah.
I would too, but as I look at this board,
I have to answer that way though, Phil, mostly because this is a longer answer, and I won't get into it. But it's the liquidity of the 26 second. Whenever you
agreed.
pick up something, Giddens is you talk about it in the stock market all the time, right? When you buy a stock in a down market, the stock owns you, not the other way around, right? When you buy a handcuff, the handcuff owns you, not the other way around. Okay, they own you until you own the market. But until then, it's kind of like an insurance policy. It's just you paying a lot of money into something that you hope becomes relevant at some point, but you're net negative from day zero, basically. And I think, Mike, your teams are better, and you have the ability to do something with a 26 second. You can go up, you can go down, you can do all kinds of things with it. It's super liquid, it's super flexible. And Giddens isn't in probably a 1 year window. So for those reasons, not value reasons.
And to be fair, I mean, you and I think the sharp drafters, obviously the folks that really pay attention, there's some guys coming out in this next class I'd rather take the shot on at the wide receiver and running back position that have a higher ceiling, in my opinion. So I'd rather have the second. But I tell you this, I would consider 2/3 because I don't care about third round picks. You know that. I mean, I think anyone that knows this show knows that I play for ceiling. I don't play for the bench. I know Rasta hates when I say that. He's, oh, you got to have those guys on your team. Well, you do, but I don't. I'm either winning the league or I'm drafting in the early part. And to me, I will trade thirds all day. In fact, Kendall, if you look at our leagues, I think you have a lot of my thirds in some of our trades. So yeah, I think Mike's got 2 seconds. I would hold on to those, Mike. The other thing I would do is this. Players' values rise and they fall. Sure, if JT were to miss time, Giddens would go pretty high, but again, in Dynasty, JT will be back, right?
It's also that like
of the Colts is JT.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. JT is going to get a re-upped contract. He's there for at least 2 to 3 years, and 2 would be like crazy case, so probably 3 years. Giddens does not have a starting role on that team in the next 3 years outside of injury.
Agreed.
And you need to reach for more ceiling as a league winning play versus a maintenance play.
Yeah. I like the player, and then we did a longer piece on him. I like the player. I like him in this third round here, but I'm not actively trying to trade for him for that exact reason. So, but I do want to talk about this player for a minute because he was your pick at the 302. We mentioned this briefly as kind of an aside. The end of his rookie contract for Isaiah Pacheco, I believe, is this season. He's obviously not a first-round pick. There is no fifth-year option for Pacheco. He was a seventh-rounder. Kareem Hunt is old, and look, he just keeps scoring touchdowns, but is he really, truly going to come back next season? I don't know the answer to that. Is Pacheco going to be back with the Chiefs next year? I don't know the answer to that. If he is back next year, the Chiefs are really interesting because the Chiefs are one of those teams that expect to be in the playoffs and expect to be in the Super Bowl, currently not playing like it. But if they can get into the playoffs, I think they are a potential place for Alvin Kamara to land. I think they're a place for Breece Hall to land. But I think Brashard Smith, and this is what I'm basing this off of, Kendall, I think Brashard Smith retains his role next year for 2 reasons. 1, I do think Kareem Hunt probably will go away, or Pacheco. 2, the Chiefs have shown you that they can find cheap running backs, especially, and just give them the ball, next guy up. Right? Because they said, okay, everyone's hurt. Who's this Pacheco kid? Well, let's throw him in there. And he wins the job. And now he's playing like absolute dog shit. He was better last night, but he hasn't been good since he broke the femur last year, or his fibula, or whatever. When he broke his leg last year, right? Not a doctor, but when he broke his leg last year. And they just said, great, next guy up, and we'll go sign Kareem Hunt off the couch. Well, now they've got Brashard Smith, and they're not afraid to use him and play him. So sure, the run and the per snap share is not there now, but it's Dynasty. So we play Dynasty in a 2 to 3 year window. Give me some thoughts, because you took him here, Brashard Smith, in the same tier as Caleb Johnson right now, in a separate tier than Caleb Johnson. They're both not the guy, but have the potential to be the guy.
Well, very different tiers in terms of talent, just in my opinion. And what I'm really honing at there is Brashard Smith can never be the 3-down bruiser that Pacheco is. Brashard Smith is known as a finesse pass catcher. Okay, that's who he is. He's not a scat back or anything. He can do more things, but he is mostly known as a good pass catcher. Pacheco is known as like a Thomas Rawls. I'm going to run downhill and hurt you. He looked like that. His identity just was what he was. If anything, remember, the pass catching for Pacheco was like oh, snap, he can catch a couple passes, because he was supposed to be a 0 catches guy, right? Brashard Smith is the complete opposite. So which in terms of ceiling and floor, it's worth talking about in terms of we like Brashard Smith because he has every reason to get on the field, right? What he does, other people are just straight up worse at, and it's easy to admit, right? It's hard to admit when your backup is better at the first down than your starter. That's a coaching issue, right? It's not hard to admit that your pass catching specialist you drafted, right, maybe can get on the field for some pass catching downs when they're competing against Pacheco for catching passes, right? So it's a ceiling floor thing, but you made the Woody Marks case. The idea here is that it's not working for a team that they're going to find ways to get talented people involved however it takes. And if you're not cutting it, they're going to find people that can cut it. And there's less interesting ways to use bruisers like Pacheco. There's just less utility for them in an Andy Reid offense. And I think there's more utility for Brashard Smith. And I think Hunt, like you said, if we're looking at a 3-year window, you can just write off Hunt year after year from now on. Like actually write him out of the NFL straight up. At some point in time, if he loses a step, it's actually over. He's only relevant because he's on the Chiefs. If he wasn't on the Chiefs, his career is over. So let's just get real.
I would add he's only relevant because he's on the Chiefs and scoring touchdowns. If those touchdowns don't go to him last night,
then it's just a night for a 1B. And keep in mind, he's an incumbent on that team. If he's not ready to learn a new offense and have to it's sing for his supper, it's just not going to happen, right? So it's easy to project Brashard Smith to get on the field. It's easy to see this as a team that doesn't have it at running back, and they need to get someone involved. If anything, I'm saying his floor is a lot higher than we're giving him credit for. His ceiling is a little bit lower. So where Woody Marks can... We're attacking Woody Marks because we're like, hey guys, ceiling, calm down. When handcuffs get the job, sometimes they're the worst thing you can do in DFS, right? I know you're a DFS guy, right? How many times are you like, no, this is not the play. I'll just take a random wide receiver 2 over this RB1 for the week play. Like, you talk about the waiver wire, Hassan Haskins is not going to be on my teams, guys. He sucks at football. I don't care that he's going to get 12 to 15 touches. He's an awful NFL player. For those reasons, tame down the ceiling for Brashard Smith, but fire up the floor. And if you're searching for RB2 production, and God, that's what we're doing in Dynasty. We don't care about some, juiced up RB1. We just want to make sure we're not needing a running back. He's going to get to that level by the end of this year and be just damn well usable. On a Chiefs team that you want the pass catcher, not the bruiser. So I like him a lot.
We're gonna blitz the 4th round, and then we're gonna Tarantino this and go all the way back to the beginning and talk about the big boys at the end of the show. So I like it. Shaw, well, not really Shaw, but at the 401 here, Shaw's auto pick was Trey Harris, Devin Neal, Jalen Milroe, Jarquez Hunter, Gadsden Orande. Gadsden? Did I just butcher his first name? Kyle Monong. Okay, that's what I thought. Kyle Monongai, Dylan Sampson, Jimmy Horn Jr., Jack Beck, Gunnar Helm, Kyle Williams, and Jalen Royals. I just want to say 2 quick things, Kendall, and then we're going to, like I said, Tarantino this. Trey Harris sliding from the 2nd round to the 4th is less an indictment on his talent and more on the fact that he just hasn't gotten enough on the field time. Snap percentage, they traded for Keenan Allen. QJ looks, well, this week sucked, but QJ has been great. Ladd's there. Hampton's been awesome. So if you have Harris, don't panic. But I want to talk about this name for literally 1 minute. 1 minute. Devin Neal. If, guys, Alvin Kamara gets traded, I would not trade for Devin Neal. I would not go running to the waiver. He's probably not on your waiver wire. But here's my take on it, Kendall. We just talked about it with these other guys. It's ceiling. Devin Neal, first of all, Kendry's still there and is ahead of him on the depth chart, and he doesn't have the ceiling. And if Kendry's ahead of this kid, then that's got to tell you that Neil doesn't have the ceiling. The second thing is this. This is now, my brain just went blank. Kellen Moore, thank you for helping me there, brain. This is now Kellen Moore's team. If you think that Kellen Moore is going to trade Alvin Kamara and probably blow this roster up because the cap situation from that Derek Carr contract is so upside down, if you think Kellen Moore is not going to go get his own guys, you are crazy. So we just talked about it, right? The ceiling. It just because I don't want people to get lost and not be able to see the forest through the trees. Too many people are looking at their dynasty team right now. I had a guy, I didn't expect this trade to go through, but I sent it anyway because I was just trying to see if I could get it done. I sent Luther Burden and an early second round pick for Devonta Smith. I didn't expect that trade to get done. I knew it wouldn't. But the reason I bring it up is this. I was surprised that the owner that I sent, the Devonta Smith manager that I sent the trade to, he sent me back this comment. He goes, Luther Burden sucks. His production is dog shit. It was exactly what he said. And I said, it's one of my best friends, so I don't mind. I'm not going to share his name, obviously. But I said, dude, it's a dynasty team. You have to look long term. Of course, I said this is probably the future wide receiver 2 for the Bears as early as next season. And he was like, "You're crazy." He's like, "That dude has no." He's like, I don't remember what he said after that, but he was just trashing Burden. And I was like, "Okay." I literally said it because I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of like why he was wrong. So I was like, "Okay, I'm happy to keep him on my roster, and I'll sell him for more value later on when he blows up." And by the way, he's already had a decent game this season. Sure, it was one game, but this is why I want people to understand. I bring that trade up to say this.
Ben Johnson and fast players.
Right. Like, don't get caught up in they're not producing now, so they're never going to produce. And the inverse of that, Woody Marks is the running back 1. I've got Devin Neal now because Kamara got traded and because Kendry's always hurt. You got to have the ceiling or they're going to get drafted or acquired in free agency. They're going to be replaced. That's the
Browns might be better before the Saints are.
I mean, at this point, the Jets have the 101 and the Saints may have cost themselves the 101 by winning that game last weekend. So, but that's it, guys. I think let's get back to the top here, Kendall. But I just wanted to bring that up because I think people are excited when they get it. You know, the route you said it, Haskins and Kamani Vidal. People are screaming to the waiver wire. In a dynasty format, sure, go get him. But in your redraft leagues, don't break the bank on these guys. It's going to be a committee. Hampton will be back, and yeah. Let's talk about. This is what's really interesting to me. We had this in the chat here earlier, and somebody said debated Judkins versus Hampton at the 103. Tough call. I like this comment. I wanted to come back on this, Kendall. I know we're going to start splitting hairs, but that's what we have to do because we talked about it the other day, I think on last week's show. When you have a top 4 pick, you can't miss. You know what I mean? Like if you had drafted Travis Hunter inside the top 4 and everyone did. I'm not saying you, Kendall did. I'm saying like you, plural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm with
you. You don't feel good right now at all. So I have seen tremendous things out of Judkins. I've seen some really good things out of Hampton. Where are you on, if you're at the 103, because I think we both probably agree Agbuka and Genti are still the top 2 picks. So let's talk about the 103. Who is it and why?
Hampton, not close.
Hampton, not close. Well, that was a fast conversation. Okay, yep. Why not close?
Hampton had a 4 for 60 receiving line within 5 games of his NFL career. Judkins will never have that, probably his entire career. He might get over 60 receiving yards, but it'll be on a broken play. It won't be. Hampton's like a good pass catcher. Like he knows what he's doing. He's also like mentally ready for it. And like even in like a somewhat neutral game script, sometimes he can just catch 4 passes in the first half. Right? You combine that with a size speed combo, just as it. Stop playing NFL, play Madden for a second. Create your character. Hampton is literally a custom NFL player. So if you're telling me that you get acclimated to the NFL over time and you get more used to it, and I'll
Yeah.
give them both equal levels of getting used to the NFL. One guy has a body that other NFL players might legitimately be afraid of because it's Hampton, right? Judkins is incredibly talented, right? I think he's a guy who he has an understanding of how to play the running back position because he played against such elite competition that he was forced to. You know what Judkins has never had the ability to do?
What's up?
Have a bad 5 minutes. He's not allowed to. And look at college. He was not allowed to. Every single day, he's fighting to stay the 1A, 1B conversation. Every day. I mean, who are we really talking about? We were definitely talking about Travion. So,
Right.
because of that, I think his ability to have a bad day is just non-existent. He just goes in and puts in work every single day. And I like that from him. So I think he's going to be fantastic, but Hampton's a custom character, and it's just not a fair fight, in my opinion, in terms of upside.
Interesting. So I agree with you, Hampton. So I'm looking at our rankings here. Egbuka, Genty, Hampton, Judkins, Tet, Warren. We have the exact same first 6. If this was tight end premium, I saw a comment in here in the chat. I don't understand why Warren isn't there. I don't disagree with that comment. I think anyone could make the case even in a non-tight end premium, if you really need a tight end, he's an incredible difference maker at the position. I don't have a problem if somebody's drafting for need or drafting for positional dominance, right? At that point, if you maybe have a loaded running back room or deep running back room, you want to take the shot on Warren, that's totally fine. I do think that Judkins. So I think when you say it's not close, what I take that to mean is you have Hampton, that your tier break would be after Hampton, before Judkins.
Yeah, it's like Warren and Judkins were close for me. Like, don't hear what I'm not saying. The only counter take I'll give there is it's not a pro Hampton take. Sorry, it is a pro Hampton take. It's not an anti-negative take.
Yeah,
I think Judkins is probably the better football brain. What he had to do in his situation is harder to do than what Hampton had to do.
Yeah.
Right. He's had to work harder for what he has. And I think that what's Scadaboo doing, right? Scadaboo's had to work harder than anybody on this list to get to where he is and maintain where he is. Right.
No doubt.
I think that translates well at the position. And I think Judkins is a player that, my goodness, if that offense turned around and you gave him opportunities, I mean, that starts to get to a level and get you hot and bothered, right? I'm saying in a neutral script, Hampton is a significantly better athlete because there are so few players that ever test ever in their entire career the way Hampton does, right? And I just think when you get as good as you can get, sometimes being a little bit more physically gifted is a cheat code when you're both, splitting hairs, right? And I'm saying I don't think Judkins, if you were talking to us right now, would say Hampton has a size and speed, a size speed build that's just difficult for anyone to compete with, and I think that's true. So
let me. Here's where I'm at. I don't disagree with you that, and my rankings say that I have Hampton ahead of you, and I don't disagree with you that the tier break is between Hampton and Judkins. I'm not going to say that Judkins is. I don't think it's as big of a difference as you do, and here's why. Here's my reasoning behind it. If you look at, and we talk about this all the time, we've said it at least twice on the show already tonight. We play Dynasty in a 2 to 3 year window. If you look at the next 2 to 3 years for the Chargers, Ladd is going to be there. Huge is going to be there. Trey Harris, I don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to be there because he's on a rookie contract.
Yeah, fair.
Right? Justin Herbert is already signed, so you know who the quarterback is because of the contract. Right? I don't know who the tight end is. I don't care who the tight end is. It's not important because there's not a Bowers, Laporta, you know what I mean? That archetype of young, dominant McBride. There's not that type of player. Who is the quarterback in 2 years for the Browns? No fucking clue. Who's the wide receiver 1 for the Browns in 2 years? No clue.
Fannin.
Who is the who's the tight end for the Browns in 2 years. Probably Fannin. And I say probably because even that's not a lock, right?
That's
Njoku,
crazy. It's crazy how that is. That's so
who
true.
is the RB1 for the Browns over the next 2 to 3 years? It's Judkins. And so this is at the end of the day, I agree with you. Hampton has the higher ceiling because of the pass catching. But I think it's going to be closer than people think because Judkins is going to be the focal point of that offense because the quarterback, unless they go make a massive trade, and you and I know this, and most people that follow football closely know this, Dak last year was the number one, quote unquote, potential free agent, and then he signed the big contract extension. There are no free agent quarterbacks that are going to be on the market this year. Kirk Cousins is too old. Joe Flacco is too old and just went to the Bengals. Jameis Winston's not a ceiling. Russell Wilson's not a ceiling. So there's no one that is going to come in outside of a monstrous trade. And don't forget, Deshaun Watson is still there under contract, and I don't think they can get out of it. It is the worst trade in NFL history. So if that contract cannot go away,
they couldn't afford to get out of it.
That's my point. So what you have to do is exactly the recipe that NFL teams are trying to do right now on the inverse. Get the cheap rookie quarterback and go pay your skill positions. That's the recipe to get us to the Super Bowl.
I mean, they're going to 12 personnel for forever.
Because they've done the inverse and they've failed. They paid the quarterback and now they have cheap rookies or cheap, skill position guys. They got Isaiah Bond. They got Harold Fannin. They got Cedric Tillman. They got Judkins. They got all these Dylan Sampson. They got all these guys on rookie deals. And I think you're going to see Judkins be the focal point of that offense on a team that wants to run the ball with a good defense with Myles Garrett under contract and young other stars. So I agree with you that the pass catching will keep Hampton in a tier above for now. But I think statistically, outside of an outlier season, I don't think Hampton's going to have 100-yard games. 100-yard rushing games because there's just too many more mouths to feed for the Chargers. But I think Judkins has the higher ceiling from the rushing side. And if there aren't huge outlier games on the pass catching side, I think the delta and difference of points starts to shrink. So I think you could see Judkins make that leap into that Egbuka, Genty, Hampton plus Judkins tier. I think Tet could make that jump. I think Tyler Warren could make that jump. I'm okay leaving those two guys in a separate tier right now because it's still early. But I told you, we talked about this last week. I told you I had offers, and you know this, we talk all the time. But for the listeners, I had a lot of offers this summer for my Judkins shares. Is Phil going to panic? Same thing everybody was thinking. I was trying to buy Judkins this summer in places I didn't have him because thinking people are going to panic with the lawsuit and all the other mess, right? It's a mess. He didn't sign his contract, blah, blah, blah. And the shares that I had of him, I ultimately decided to hold on to because I said, look, this is probably going to go away. It's the NFL. We've seen guys who are accused and convicted of much worse get much less suspensions. He hasn't even gotten a suspension yet, Judkins. Keep that in mind. Sure, he could, but he hasn't yet. And ultimately, he's going to start and be the RB1 for the Browns. And that's exactly what's happened. And I'll take it a step further. He's produced. It's not like he's shown up and done dog shit and you're like, oh, is this really the guy? Like I drafted Caleb Johnson to be the guy because I don't think about Jaylen Warren as a big-time running back, and Caleb Johnson can't get on the field. Judkins can't get off the field.
He's the only thing working in that entire offense.
He is the offense. There is nothing else there right now. Dylan Gabriel had a good game and they lost. They lost the game. Right? Jordan Addison, great catch in the end zone there to win the game. So I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time not putting Judkins in that tier. I don't think he's there yet, but I don't think we're far away.
Yeah, from a fantasy, I'll put it this way: if you anything, you have convinced me to soften my take a little bit. I would say in my opinion, the conversation shouldn't be, could you flip-flop them? It's more or less, can you put them in the same tier? I think Hampton has every tiebreaker in the books, but I do think, more to your point, that the story of their next 2 years is probably going to be Hampton has all this elite upside and never quite gets there. He's just really good, but he doesn't quite get there. And Judkins is going to have a stacked deck with a shitty quarterback and a very, very bad implied team point total week after week. And is probably just going to overperform because it's just all he's ever done. That's probably going to happen. So, like, I still see Judkins. I see Judkins being close to Hampton, but he's always hitting like ceiling outcomes, and Hampton's just never there. If Hampton ever hits, I think that's where it's like he was built to be different. He has a different skill set and a better offense and all these things, right? So, like, I'm playing the fantasy analytics. If I'm just watching real football in the NFL, I'm like, Judkins' kid is kind of the thing that makes that team go. God forbid they ever get themselves a quarterback. Like, when you look at it that way, Judkins could score similar to Hampton. And if that offense ever worked, like if you ask me right now, if you give the Cleveland Browns Justin Herbert, right, who would you have in Dynasty? And I would say it's Judkins by a decent amount because he's going to score 3. He's going to be JT tomorrow. So I hadn't quite gotten all the way through the long out. Saquon, it took Saquon a long time to be what Saquon is today on the Eagles, right? I hope that doesn't happen to Quinshawn, but it is worth analyzing with how young he is. What if it takes 2 years for them to finally get a quarterback? So when he's 25, they have a really good quarterback of some kind. At that point, he has the ability to then get into the absolute top 3 running back discussion. It's just going to take a little bit longer.
Let me give you 2 names, and just bear with me for 1 second because I'm not making the comparison that Judkins is going to be these 2 names. But hear me out because you know I love my data. Who has been the NFL rushing champion who has never finished as the fantasy RB1?
NFL rushing champion.
NFL rushing champion.
Nick Chubb.
Okay, not the name I was thinking of, but still relevant. Let me give you that caveat. Shouldn't be that hard. You know who he is.
Are we talking about Saquon?
No, because he catches passes. This guy doesn't catch passes. He's been the real life NFL rushing champion. He still is one of the best. He's having no season right now, but one of the best running backs. True running backs. Yeah, Derrick Henry.
It's gonna be Henry.
Yeah, Derrick Henry. Okay, doesn't catch the ball. Right, I'm looking at his targets right now. The most targets he ever received in a season was in 2022. 41 targets. Caught 33 passes that season. Finished as the RB4. He had 1,500 rushing yards. Okay? Let me give you one more name. JT. Catches more passes, but again, targets so far in his career. The season he was the overall RB1. 1,800 rushing yards. 51 targets. Caught 40 of them. Since that time, he has never eclipsed 30. So I'm not saying that Judkins is going to be JT or Derrick Henry. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think he can be extremely fantasy relevant. And I think he can still be, like you just said, a top 3, top 4 guy if they can continue to improve the offensive line, even without the pass catching ceiling. Will he ever be the overall RB1? No. Because of the pass catching ceiling. That's going to be what limits his ability to get there. But can he still be a top 5 guy off of just rushing with throwing in 20 to 30, targets a season and catching half of those? Yeah, I think he can. And that's the comparison I wanted to make is you have guys that have been incredibly fantasy relevant. JT has been the overall RB1. Derrick Henry has not, right? But you can be so good for fantasy still without having of course we all want Christian McCaffrey, we all want Saquon Barkley, because it's like having 2 players. Well, Christian McCaffrey is having 2 players, and when he's getting 100 plus targets a season, it's more than wide receivers are. But like Saquon Barkley is 1.5 players because he is a half a receiver and a full running back, right? Achane is not getting the rushing volume. The Dolphins are a disaster right now, but like once Mike McDaniel gets fired, if the Dolphins can sort their shit out, Achane, Bijan, Gibbs, these are 1.5 fantasy players that you're getting for 1 draft pick because of that pass catching work. But the Nick Chubbs of the world, who never caught a fucking pass in his life, I think he ran away when the ball was thrown at him. Don't throw it near me. It's a game of hot potato. Can still be a top 5 guy. And that's the archetype that I think if Judkins is going to get there, he has to follow. but I think it's in his range of outcomes. We always talk about ceiling and floor. I think that's his ceiling. And if you throw in an outlier season of pass catching, he vaults into the top 3 right away. So, Kendall, I think that's it, man. Unless there's anyone else we're dying to talk about. I know we could go till 4 a.m, but
we could definitely go till 4 a.m, man. There's not a single topic that I don't want to like chew on for a minute. So, dude, if you want to do a bonus show at any point in time where we just take this exact digital piece of paper with our updated rankings, if you just want to go do a mini show where we just talk through some more interesting names, that's something I think we could make happen very soon.
Yeah, we could maybe do that next week or find a time to do that in the next 2 weeks. I think would be good. Because you're right. There's some guys. Torrey Horton went at the 211. We didn't talk about him at all. He was like a 3rd/4th round pick way back in May. I think he went undrafted in one of my leagues. It was a 10
what
team. What
tier he goes in is interesting because I thought I was spicy on him, but I think we both are. From you, I want to know the Scadaboo versus Travion. Like, I think versus Bill. I think we should just have a conversation about that trio. I think it's the fact that I'm calling it a trio is probably spicy enough, right? Like, that's a thing.
I mean, your rankings have 7, 8, 9. Henderson, Scadaboo, Bill. My rankings have 7, 8, 10. Scadaboo, Henderson, Bill. I have Golden ahead of Bill right now only because it is still so early. And I think there is still potential for Matthew Golden to develop into the overall number 1 wide receiver for Green Bay. And as much as I like Bill and I want the story to be a happy ending, he's still a 7th round pick. He looks good. I think he's relevant now. I think he could continue to remain relevant this season. And if he does, I think that makes him relevant next year. But Brock Purdy and Isaiah Pacheco
magic on Bill. Eckler's going to teach him all the secrets, man. Maybe. He's going to give him some tutelage.
I hope so. Brock Purdy and Isaiah Pacheco are the post. No one's. I don't want to put Tom Brady because Tom Brady's the GOAT, right? But like Pacheco
honestly,
and Purdy.
Bill is Pacheco for me. Bill is I think the ascendance is real, and then I'm going to sell the absolute shit out of him because the team is great. Jaden's great. The Commanders are going to be a thing. Running backs don't last as long as the Dynasty does, man. They never do. James White
that's the whole
did.
Point.
He's the only one.
You know what? I'll be honest, and I feel bad. I kind of forgot Antonio Gibson until he tore his ACL. Was even on the team.
Well, okay, to be fair, you remembered he was on the team when you were like, is fucking number 4 getting the ball again?
I was like, is that? I literally had to do a double take. I was watching.
Did you have to look at, what's Henderson's number? It's not 4, right?
It's 32.
It's definitely not 4, right? What the? Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
Sorry, man.
I was like, is this like actually real life right now? I was like, is this, did Antonio Gibson just tear his ACL? Also, not a player I thought we would talk about or even mention on tonight's show, but you gotta do you.
Hey, man.
It's Ramondre season, buddy. I'll end the show with this, and I don't think it's that spicy, which is why I say I'll just end the show with this. In my one redraft league where I've had Ramondre just chilling on the bench, just keeping it warm, he is starting for me this week over Chase Brown.
Ooh, buddy.
Because my teams. My teams are always wide receivers.
Got the Detroit Lions, I think. Is that right? Did that just happen, or am I wrong?
No, the Lions have the Chiefs this week. So let me find it. Right. Chase Brown has the. You want to know who they have? He's 100% on my bench now.
Oh, they have it's the Browns or the Packers. It's the Packers, isn't it? It's the actual Packers.
It's the Packers, and it's in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So Chase Brown, by the way, is going to have, because I'm benching him with Joe Flacco, Chase Brown's going to have 80 yards and a touchdown this weekend on my bench, and Ramondre will have whatever. He's just going to have 16 fantasy points on my bench, and Ramondre is going to fumble 18 times and have 0 fantasy points this week because I'm starting Ramondre. So that is the way the world works. But in the interim, enjoy your week, folks. Have a great. Who do we have on Thursday night? Do we have a good? I feel like we don't have a great one this week.
It's not going to beat last Thursday.
Last Thursday was phenomenal. Bang bang, Niner gang.
That was fun.
Got.
Who do we have on Thursday? I've got everything pulled up.
Ew. We have the Eagles and the Giants. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
I know you're listening, but maybe
I
it's
mean,
a
I
better game
guess
than we
in
think it is.
division, but
Put it this way. I don't think there's a ton of points in the game. That's why I said ew. But
at least it's fun. I think the people that are going to probably lose the game are the people I want to watch. Because I actually like, I'm. You probably saw my rankings, man. I'm pretty in on Jackson Dart, dude. I guess your rankings are high. Actually, you have him higher than me.
I have him higher, but not. I don't think too much higher than you. But
I bury quarterbacks. Like I destroy.
Yeah,
quarterbacks
it's hard in
so
it's quarterback leagues.
I put him over my boy Colston Loveland. You know that was painful.
Yeah, I know. I think we're all looking. Enjoy your week, folks. Have a good Thursday night football game. I think we are all hoping, praying that we get a repeat of 2 seasons ago for Sunday night football with Lions Chiefs.
Amen.
And I think the Bills Falcons on Monday night has some points. Your Bears and the Commanders could be a fun game. So I'm actually stoked for Sunday night and Monday football. Yeah, I think kind of some of these games, like I'm not watching the Raiders and the Titans this week. I'm not watching the Patriots and the Saints. So there's just some games I'm not stoked on. But Sunday night football and the 2 Monday night games will be great. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Extra Point. If you've got questions for us, please jump in, hit us on Sleeper. Make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button. You can always leave questions. We do review the show. So if you go back and watch the stream, you can drop some questions and comments there. We will get to those. Join the Discord. Y'all know how to reach us. But for now, we out. Have a great night.
Fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided.